stand like you like each other? Would you guys stand like you like each other? I'm going to do some quick thank yous. We're going to get moving pretty quickly. Terry will be your moderator. So thank you all for being here. This is called the Four Chairs Forum, Lessons from Leaders. You're on time. We're going to move through this. We've got a packed agenda. I'm going to thank some people, and then we'll thank them at the end, too. Jim Hardy, Brian O'Neill, Terry Decker, Maureen Copelof. Do you know who she is? She's right here. Tyree Griffith from Mary C. Jenkins. We wouldn't be here without him. Catherine Burley, she's hiding. She's doing all the 8 Vs. Yep, you've got the right place. Colin McCabe, thank you. Colin, raise your hand. And Jonathan Rich was very helpful. He's a IT PR person, very helpful. Nori, what are you doing here? You came all the way down to be here? Yeah. I'm going to thank our presenters, and Terry will do a better job of introducing them. Tom Dempsey, David Watkins, Shelly Webb, Jason Posnock, Larry Chapman. Wave your hand, Larry. And the chief, who has now ticketed all your cars. It's a new source of revenue. This is all about you. You'll notice that there's a green sheet in your agenda. We want you to tell us if you want to do this again or how we could do it better. We're going to move through it quickly. Those 4 speakers will have 15 minutes and then 5 minutes for Q&A. And at the end, Terry will unleash you onto this area where you can talk directly to them and ask all the questions that we cut you off from asking. This is fun. I'm going to stop talking and let you all enjoy it. Terry, it's yours. Give Terry a wild round of applause.
Thanks for that, Tom. A lot of credit to Tom for getting this really going. I appreciate his reaching out to Jim and Brian and myself as coordinators of this. Tom was the agitator, the coordinator, the organizer, all of the above. And we're very grateful, Tom. Thanks so much. Thank you very much. A big round for Tom, please. So here's how the evening's going to roll. Each of these wonderful people will offer up to 15 minutes of words and wisdom. Right? You guys are going to be wise? Okay. They'll offer words anyway, maybe some wisdom. And then each, in turn, will take 5 minutes of questions. And that's when Brian and Jim come in really handy. If you have a question, let's make sure we get it mic'd. So raise your hand if you have a question, and Brian and or Jim will come to you, and we can hear your question to that particular panelist. So that'll be done 4 times, once for each panelist, 15 minutes, followed by 5 minutes of questions and answers. And then at the end, when that's all done, we can have more social interaction time, so to speak, more informal mingling with the panelists, with whomever in the room, etc. I think we have a curfew of like 8:15-ish. Right, they start ticketing cars. Towing, the heck with ticketing. All right. So thanks again for being here, and we're going to begin with a welcome message from the mayor. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you to the organizers. Thank you to everybody that came out on a rainy evening. Thank you to everybody that, this is the rescheduled forum. It's hard to pull something like this together. It really is. So I am so appreciative of the people that made it happen and the people that have dedicated their time, and I look forward to the wisdom that we're going to get from you guys. But one of the things that I think makes Brevard so very, very special is we have so many organizations that are active and engaged, working both independently but also collectively on how to make this a better place, a better community. And I'm very interested in hearing, how our different panelists here dealt with some of the challenges that we all face. Because as wonderful as Brevard is, we do face challenges. And there are the common challenges that every organization faces: the financial, the economic challenges, the uncertainty of the political environment that's changing. But then there's the unique challenges that, our nonprofits face. There's the unique challenges that our businesses face. So trying to hear from other people and take their experience and incorporate it into sort of our toolbox is something that I learned long ago in the military, that the best way to learn leadership is to see how other people lead and to have examples that you can follow, that you can steal the great ideas, that you can use as you too face the different challenges and learn to pivot with whatever challenge is going to face us in the future. Because last year was tough, this year, who knows? But we're ready for it because we do have such wonderful leaders across the wide spectrum of community organizations. So thank you, everybody, and thank you all for being here, and I look forward to what everyone has to say.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate that. We did not have a determined order of speakers today, and everyone said they don't care. Which is, I shouldn't say that. They didn't have a preference. That's a better way to put it. They didn't have a preference. And I'm going to do it this way, now that you bring that up. We're going to go from, stage left to stage right. We'll go in this order is how we'll go, since that's how they're arranged. And so first up is Tom Dempsey. He's the founder and CEO of Sylvan Sport. In some ways, Tom's duties as a Sylvan Sports founder and CEO dovetails from standard executive leadership responsibilities. Embracing his industrial design education, Tom is also designing future company products. This is a quote: "As the visionary, I'm the chief product designer for the company, which makes me a little bit of a unique CEO. I guide the product vision, and I'm a real stickler for the details. And I have an amazing, wonderful team here who handles everything in between. This is my dream world, and it's awesome." Thank you for being here, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that nice introduction. I don't remember saying that, but I might have.
We have it in writing.
That's no proof. Yeah, and first and foremost, I want to say it is a dream for me to be here. I have loved Brevard and Transylvania County for my entire life since I was a teenager and first climbed on Looking Glass Rock and witnessed, just scenes around the community as I visited and drove through and thought, what a dream it would be to be able to live there. And so it took me about 20 years of living and working in the real world, I call it, before I was in a position to create my own world and make it part of this world. And again, there's not a day that goes by that I don't drive down 276 from my home in Cedar Mountain, marvel at the light above the mountains to our northwest and the scenes in the valley, and pinch myself that I'm so fortunate and blessed to be living here and part of this community. So just a huge thank you to everyone that makes that possible. And we, as Sylvan Sport, have always tried to be a contributing part of the community. We manufacture, for those that you don't know, we manufacture everything from $29 backpacks to $80,000 state-of-the-art, world's best RVs. And we have a very specific product philosophy about what we make. I'll get into that a little very briefly, and then get to the heart of the matter. I think the thing that makes me most proud is being able to provide an opportunity for another 30-plus residents of our community to also raise their families and make a living here. So hopefully we can continue growing that. But yes, with a product design background, we're super product-centric. We want to make things that last. We absolutely maybe foolishly disregard a lot of rules of business, and that, the very first Go camping trailer we ever made in 2007 is still on the road and still in near perfect condition. The owner brings it by every couple of years to have us put air in the tires and stuff like that. But kind of to a fault, our stuff lasts forever, and we've had customers say, you'd sell more of these if they would wear out. And then another philosophy is we try to make our things multifunctional. So in a disposable world, we try to contra that. So if we're going to put resources into an artifact that we build, we want it to be a true value in the owner's life, like not just a one-dimensional product that sits in their yard waiting for a vacation for 11 and a half months of the year, but gets integrated into daily life and multifunctional activities. So that's just a quick bit about Sylvan Sport. With respect to what we're doing here and talking about, I'm really fortunate to be informed by my 4 jobs. And I was going to say that one of them pays, the other 3 don't, but in truth, all 4 of them don't pay. So, but my job is Sylvan Sport, I just mentioned. I also, I'm part of the Federal Reserve's Advisory Board. It's an opportunity a lot of folks have in business, and it's fun because our company is kind of soup to nuts. We sell direct to consumers, and then we work all the way to raw material supply chain stuff, aluminum, plastic, various. So everything in between, and that's kind of unique in today's business world. I know, David, you do a very similar thing, so we're both unique. I'm also on the executive board at Auburn University, so I get to see the insights of the workings of a multi-billion-dollar university into, the future of education, trends, and, population and what's going on there. So that's a lot of fun for me to contribute, but I also probably get way more out of it than I give. And then lastly, there's a handout. I don't know if you have it in your hands, but it's on the table in the back that I put together just from some stats on the outdoor industry in the U.S. and in North Carolina. And I kind of helped North Carolina create this office as part of the Department of Commerce called the Outdoor Industry Office. And the outdoor industry in North Carolina is a $16 billion industry. It employs 145,000 people in the state. So it's pretty meaningful, and we're in the top 5 states in the nation. And I characterized it when Governor Cooper was in office that we have the industrial assets of Ohio and the outdoor assets of Colorado. Like, what other state has that? None. So we're fortunate to be, I think, in the best state for the outdoor industry. The mayor touched on it a bit in terms of 2025, lessons learned, and taking them forward. We certainly are in an unprecedented time of uncertainty on every level. And so I look at it kind of mathematically. We have uncertainty geopolitically, politically, economically, financially, healthcare, education systems, communication systems, technology, AI. And if you think about each one as an individual variable, and then you start putting them in a formula together, the potential outcomes quickly start numbering in the quadrillions. Like, it's mathematically insane how much the possibility of all the uncertainty could lead to. So as a business person who doesn't think of himself as a business person, I'm an industrial designer and an entrepreneur, and I'm stumbling my way through the business world each day. But the old days of making a multi-year plan are totally out the window. And COVID was enough uncertainty, and then we kind of came into this post-COVID world. And so we really have to be, we have a plan, fairly short term, at most a year, but then we have to be incredibly flexible within that plan, and we have to be more so than ever entrepreneurial and responsive to opportunities as they morph and change and emerge throughout the course of the year. And honestly, I think that's something we're really good at. And it's not developed because we're smart, it's developed because we are so determined that we don't know the fine line between determination and stupidity. Like, it's totally unknown to, but yeah, so when I say we're good at it, like, during COVID, we made PPE in less than 2 weeks. We were up and running because we knew if we didn't do this immediately, the need will be met elsewhere. So, like, let's just do it, boom. And so one of our changes as an outgrowth of the regional experience with Hurricane Helene is we found our tiny little trailers, which carry a lot of gear, being pressed into service to access places in Yancey County and other nearby counties to get things to folks that were otherwise cut off, except for maybe a helicopter type thing. And so we saw this demand. We had requests for that type of use before, so we kind of just dove in with 2 feet as the outdoor economy was slowing post-COVID, because I think everybody in this room probably knows that during COVID, every single piece of outdoor gear in North America was bought, and then after COVID, it was all sold. And so companies like us that make that gear, people were just, they were set. And so we recently launched what we call our Hero trailer, and it is a really purpose-built product for first responder organizations and whatnot. So that's been a good outcome, but I think just being positioned to be flexible and take what life gives you, being grateful every day, and shifting the mentality from chasing a dream to living a dream, in tough times. That's what you have to stop and realize that's what you're doing. And so that's generally what I had to say. Tom told me I didn't have to do any preparation, so I don't. You know what's funny? I was honored to give the commencement speech at Auburn University for 22,000 people, and they told me I had to limit it to 5 minutes. So my point is, I've never spoken for 15 minutes before. Yeah, so, I think as an industrial designer too, it's my job to kind of analyze not only consumer trends, but societal trends, and understand where people are going with their needs, again, from a job standpoint, commercially speaking, but from a human standpoint in all facets of life. So it's my job to kind of look at what's going on and try and predict where needs are going to be so that I can adapt products to meet those needs in the forefront, and also, be responsible to the broader needs of all humans walking the earth. And so that's something that really drives us, but it's becoming, I think, increasingly difficult to really forecast where things are going. And like I said, so responding to that, and how have we adapted as we go into, and now we're well into 2026 from the earlier time frame of this, but it's being like a soccer goalie, just ready to spring when that ball comes your way. The other analogy I use takes me to my paddle sports days. Another company I got started was Liquid Logic in Henderson County. And, there's such great analogies from paddling, whitewater kayaks. If you look at the rock, you're going to hit the rock. But I think of a particular outing on the Chattooga River in January. It was below freezing. Our feet were frozen inside the boats. And it got dark because one member of our party decided he wanted to take an unscheduled excursion over this mountaintop. And we finished the trip in complete darkness. And the only thing we had to go by was we were looking for the white in the river to make sure we hit the white, to stay in the path. And when we're kind of in that zone right now, with the uncertainty. We're driving in the dark, we're paddling in the dark, whatever you want to call it. And we have to do 2 things. We have to trust what we know, and what we've seen before, so we know it's there, even though we can't see it right now. And we have to be ready for what might come into our field of vision at the spur of the moment and unexpectedly. And we have to have all our preparation at the ready to handle that situation. So that's how I would sum it up.
Thank you very much, Tom. That's for the plan. Got a few minutes for some questions for Tom.
Okay.
Anybody?
Before we start with questions, I just want to remind you how to use the microphone. We're being recorded, and so right into the microphone. So I'll start here.
My name is Ed Winstead. I've been in Brevard about 20 years, a little bit more. Moved down from Dearborn, Michigan, working for Ford Motor. So I've always been rather interested in the design and manufacturing aspects. One of the things when I moved down here, and I still hear it, not as much as I did when I first moved here, that this area needs manufacturing. And I said, well, how are you going to manufacture when you live on an island? Because you have a transportation problem in for materials and a transportation problem out for what you manufacture. My analogy is that Brevard and the county is in many ways like Switzerland. You have to import material and add high value to them. And I was wondering how you have found this type of thing with your business. I see the trucks bringing stuff in, but have you found the location and transportation as a problem here?
Thank you so much for that great question. I appreciate it. And it is part of the founding of Sylvansport here was very purposeful. In other words, I selected this industry space we're in because it's big enough to have significant opportunity, but it's small enough to not be an attractive target to be made in China type thing, you know, and so it's right in that sweet spot. The other beautiful things that went into the consideration were the fact that I think this is the best outdoor destination in the eastern United States. So we are not only a factory, we're a tourist destination for outdoor folks. They come from all 48 states to pick up their campers here and start their journey home, usually at Davidson River Campground or one of the private campgrounds. But from a design and manufacturing standpoint, we set out at the very founding of the company to source as much of our componentry, and we have 8,000 part numbers in that building, many of which we make, many of which we buy. But we set out to buy as much of it as possible, as close to Brevard as possible. So we're really proud to track that, and we're proud to say that we get about 82% of the content of our stuff comes from within a 100-mile radius of Brevard. We're fortunate to be adjacent to Greenville County. The automotive corridor that grew with BMW serves us incredibly well for an ancillary category of business. You're right about transportation. It's more expensive. This is not a low-cost place to do business. We don't compete on price or cost, so we have to provide incredibly well-designed, well-engineered premium products and deliver a premium experience to, you know, to not be a low-cost competitor. And it's, you know, I've always reflected on the Acosta Trail, for example. You put a rail line in to either extract large volumes of raw materials or bring raw materials to a giant labor pool. And in today's world, we have neither of those here, you know. So yeah, we have to be creative, and I'm excited to be part, along with David here and many other manufacturers in the county, part of the solution. You know, the easiest thing for us as we grew from our tiny little home in Cedar Mountain and needed to move into Brevard and then expand, the easiest solution would have been to go rent a lower cost building in Pickens County or Greenville County and just slide over there and do business at a lower cost. But truthfully, because of what I said at the beginning of talking, I wanted to be part of the next generation, you know. And I always look at Brevard, the first wave of timber extraction and the tanneries and whatnot, and then the second wave of Acosta and DuPont and American Thread, you know, as we're part of the third wave, and we may be smaller, but hopefully there'll be more of us, and we'll grow. Thanks for the long-winded answer.
Probably time for another question.
Yeah, what is the geographic makeup of your customer base? I mean, is it coming from, you know?
And why aren't Hawaiians and Alaskans buying your products?
Yeah.
They are. It's just, I have a quote to ship one to Alaska right now that's $12,000, so that's why. But we have shipped to every continent except Antarctica, and we have distribution partners in Europe and Asia. And the King of Jordan flew his jet to the United States to pick up 2 of our little Go campers. I mean, it's crazy where they are. You know, they are all over the world. And they were purposefully designed to be a world product, meaning like we researched back in the early internet days, what's the largest license plate size that needs to go on a trailer? And we designed our thing to fit it, you know, and same with lighting and compliance with other international regulation. Most of what we sell, though, is sold where there are people. So, you know, you look at a population distribution map of North America, it's exactly the same as our sales distribution. So,
Thanks for that. Great question. One more question, and then we'll move on. Thanks, Bonnie.
I'm Bonnie Kelly, and I'm running for school board, and that's one of the questions that I'm asking here. In the Transylvania County School Improvement Plan, let's call it strategic plan, point 1.2 is student achievement goal. Transylvania County schools will offer work-based learning opportunities that connect education with real-world experiences, better preparing our students for the workforce. And there are 2 action plans and measures. One is to increase the number of internships and apprenticeships aligned with student academic and career plans. And the other is increased job shadowing opportunities for students in grades 6 to 8. Just for background knowledge, the past year, not this current school year, but past year, they had 14 internship placements, and their goal this year was to have 25. I don't know where they're at right now. And the job shadowing is, the baseline is 0 for middle school, and they're hoping that they have this year 50. I just wanted to make you aware of this and other industry leaders here. I just wondered if you think that that would be something that your company could work with the Transylvania County school system.
yeah, great. Another great question. Historically, we've always enjoyed partnering with the school system. We host, I don't know what it's called, manufacturing day or other things, you know. So we're definitely, we've been a stopping point for various school things. We've done career day things. In other words, I don't think we've ever said no to the school system when they ask, because we really enjoy that. We have typically 4 interns every summer, collegiate interns in engineering and marketing typically. We have had a few high school students reach out to us individually that we've used for that. We do paid internships only. We don't do unpaid ones. And yeah, I was eager to talk more about that. And we can also help shape how the program might work in terms of, you know, making it a pragmatic win-win so that it's not seen as a burden, but seen as a benefit to the participants on both sides. Happy to help.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, Tom. And we're going to move on to our next panelist. Jason Posnock, President and CEO of Brevard Music Center. 20 years ago, Jason and his wife, Dilshad Posnock, stepped into Brevard Music Center campus as newly appointed faculty members. Although they had performed around the country and the world as professional musicians, the Posnocks had never traveled to the serene and inspiring Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. That first summer was, quote, a magical experience, one that not only ignited a love of all things BMC, but also fueled the Posnocks' deep passion for educating the next generation of classical musicians. After 2 summers, Jason was offered and accepted a full-time position with BMC. And from 2008 to the present, he assumed increasing responsibilities over artistic planning and educational programming. Very grateful for you to be here, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here with you all, and Tom and your entire cadre of helpers. Thank you for putting this all together. As you said, it is not easy to make a gathering like this happen. So thank you, and it's great to be on the stage with the three of you. What really struck me as you were speaking was that in one way or another, even though we're all do such different things, we're all in the people business. And that means we face a lot of the same challenges, even though they may look a little bit different. So Brevard Music Center, I'll just give you a little bit of background on the Music Center and then get into what we're here to talk about. So we were founded in 1936, making this our 90th anniversary season. So it's a big one for us. And we were founded in Davidson, North Carolina, and eventually moving here just a few years later. So we have been in this community for all of those stages that you were talking about. Maybe not the first one, but certainly the second and now this third. So it's been I think a very important part of this community. It's something that we value every day in the office, I can tell you that. So our mission is an educational mission, which is to teach gifted young musicians to prepare and perform great musical works at a high artistic level. That's a really special thing to come to work every day knowing that we are doing our work for a mission that benefits our students. And they are students from around the country, around the world. What that also means is, and we brought some performance calendars for our season, which is now mere weeks away, hard to believe. We open on May 30th. But what looks like artistic planning, what looks like a schedule, a concert schedule for all of you, and it is actually the curriculum for our students. So that's at the heart of what our educational mission really is. We have approximately a $10 million budget, which has just about doubled over the past 12 or 13 years, which is quite amazing. Our staff did not double, but the budget did. Our revenues come from donor philanthropy, student tuition, ticket sales, and returns on our endowed investments. We have a board of trustees. They are my boss in the collective. Our board is about 30 strong, and it's of course a volunteer board, and they are wonderful. They are a terrific board. They love the Music Center so much, as I know all of you do. And speaking of volunteers, we have a volunteer committee of over 250 people. I know we have some of you here today, some on the BMCA, so thank you for that. We could not do it without you. We have a full-time staff now of 25 members, which is a high watermark in my time here. I think when I arrived in 2008, we were at about 17 or so. During our periods of greatest growth, we pushed towards 19 or 20, but not much more than that. And over the past year or so, we have, I think, finally made some hires in departments that were that had expanded beyond their probably capacity to continue doing that. So it's been great to welcome some new staff members recently. In the summertime, we expand from that number of 25 to about 250 people on our payroll. So we could not make the summer happen without the summer staff that we bring in from all over the country. We used to call them interns, but I don't think we can do that anymore since interns mean a very specific thing. But they are summer staffers that want to learn what it's like to be involved in making a summer music festival happen. Many of them are musicians themselves, or they are arts professionals of some nature, or they want to be. So exciting to bring all of them in. We have a faculty of over 100 who come from all over the country, conservatories, orchestras, music schools, who teach our students in everything from 5-day workshops to our 8-week opera program. At the height of our summer season, when our core orchestra and opera and everything is going on, our campus hosts about 700 people. We turn into a little city of our own, really, and having all of the challenges that one would face in a community of that size. It's quite stark to go from our campus of 25 full-time staff members to 700 people living on campus seemingly overnight. So it's exciting, and we're also happy in August when they all leave. So we were asked to think about what we learned in 2025 and how that will affect our thinking this year. So when I started to reflect on that, I focused on 3 groups of people who we rely on for, and who we both rely on and who we are here for. So our students, our patrons and donors, and our full-time staff members. So our students, of course, had incredible challenges during COVID. Music study was particularly affected because so much of what we do as musicians is one-on-one training with teachers, and much of that went away. It was, what started out as in-person lessons then would have to go to Zoom lessons, and we learned how to do that. Teachers learned how to effectively teach over Zoom, and students learned how to learn, but it took a while for sure. I think one of the biggest losses we had was for orchestral instrumentalists, we lost youth orchestra. And I think what that did, I mean, in our own home, our daughter was studying violin and loved youth orchestra. She's very social. And when that went away, that sort of was her, allowed her to move on to some other areas of interest in music that didn't require 80 people getting together in one room, which you couldn't do for a good long period. So not only did we lose some students, I think we also, students kind of forgot how to do orchestra. They forgot how to communicate with each other. And that's what orchestra is at the end of the day. It's communicating with your instruments. So what we saw when we finally got back into full summer programs, which happened in after 2022, is we saw that particularly in the high school program that we all had some work to do. The first couple of years were a little rough. What we saw in 2025 was it felt like the first year where we were back. Our high school students came in, they were prepared, they felt comfortable. It felt as if it did pre-pandemic, to be quite honest. So that was great, and we saw it right away. In the first rehearsal or two, it felt like, okay, this is now what we were used to. But I think in their journey of coming back, what we're seeing is more open-mindedness in students willing to consider that there's more than one path in a career in music. One of the things we do at the Music Center is we like to model different types of lives in music. There are many ways to live a life in music. And yes, you can audition and try to be in a professional orchestra. That's really hard, and there aren't a lot of spots. So there are many more people who want to be in orchestras than there are spots in orchestras. you can teach at a university. There are ways to put together a career that includes teaching and some smaller ensemble and orchestras here and there, and just finding your own way and kind of gluing it all together. Students were much more open to knowing about that, knowing how to do that, and that's exciting because that allows us to open our curriculum, to teach more without the instrument. And what I mean is that before the pandemic, if we weren't in rehearsal, students weren't very much interested in most lectures or other things we offered them. After the pandemic, it's completely different. They are much more engaged, much more open-minded, and that's exciting as a teacher because we want to open their minds. So we've definitely, in 2025, that was very evident to us. I think the other message we were able to share with them, and it's something we believe very strongly at Brevard, is that the arts it's an ecosystem that requires all parts of it to be working together to be effective. And it includes the performers. Yeah, that's obviously they're a key part of it, but they are no more important than our teachers, than our administrators, the patrons, the board members, donors, volunteers. It takes everyone working together for the arts to succeed. And I think that's a message now that our students were open to hearing. So that's been exciting. For our patrons and our donors, what 2025 showed me was how happy they are to be back to something that feels normal in terms of going to concerts, going to shared arts experiences. They missed it. And to see people enjoying it as much as I saw them was actually kind of an unexpected joy for me. I just hadn't really honestly given that much thought, and getting to know that we were offering them this opportunity and it would not happen if we were not there was pretty powerful for me last summer. And then the final group I thought about was our full-time staff, and that of course gets us to the whole issue of labor and all of the challenges that we all know we face in this community. In 2025, we had sort of the largest turnover I can remember. And I chose not to take that personally. I think it was a natural function of a period of transition. And that was okay. Of course, you lose a lot of institutional knowledge, but we make that up with the new energy of our younger staff members. Maybe I'm not allowed to say that, so. But in any event, it's been really, that was something that we dealt with last year. But the hard part was, as we were looking to replace people, as we were looking to bring new roles on, we would interview folks from all over the country, and we get to the point of them looking at moving to Brevard, or at least the Brevard area, and they face the challenges that we all know about. Housing prices, cost of living. We have a number of new folks, and they are, most of them, frankly, living up in the Arden area. And I wish they were living in Transylvania County, but at least to start out with, they couldn't make that work. So fortunately, they come from more urban areas where a half-hour commute to work is normal. So, I mean, I grew up in that place too, but I have to admit, that'd be hard to go back to. For me, the travel time to work is dependent on one traffic light, and if I get that light, it's 7 minutes, and if I don't, it's 8 minutes. So, but these are some of the challenges that they are facing. So, I think another issue that we're seeing is just the generational shift in priorities and work-life balance and just what the expectations are now of the workforce that is coming up. And boy, it makes me feel old, dare I say it, but it is definitely something that we talk about as the executive team, and how we can make working at the Brevard Music Center attractive beyond the benefits of working in a nonprofit. So, during the summer, for about 3 months, it's 24/7, and there's nothing we can do about that. And I try to be as completely upfront and honest as I can, but it is, that's the job. But what can we do for the other 9 months? So these are some of the things that we have been facing. As we come into 26, as you said, we're kind of here already, and my season's going to start in 3 weeks. But our student energy level and applications are good. The pool seems great, so we're very excited to have them. Our patrons are energized. I will say box office sales are about 7 weeks ahead of where we were last year at this time, so that is really good news. If you wanted to see Yo-Yo Ma, I'm sorry, but we have lots of tickets to many other great concerts. Our staff, it's exciting. I can't wait to go through this season with this new crop. We just had a board meeting, and as I said to the board, we have 8 new members of the staff who were not here at the previous board meeting. So to go through a season with so many new people will be really exciting for us. And one thing, I'll just completely off the subjects of what we've been talking about, but as I look at some of the challenges and what we're trying to think about in terms of our work and our work product and our work style, is really the use of AI and how we're going to integrate that into what we do. And I know everybody's sort of on their own journey with it right now a little bit, and how we end up bringing that together and making it useful for the organization. I think that's the challenge for the next couple of years for us.
Jason Posnock, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now 5 minutes for some questions from the audience.
So Jason, I just got back from 2 weeks at Jazz Fest, and having gone many times, what is the relationship between the Music Center and musicians and schools, not only in New Orleans, but a number of the performers went to this one group called Lake Street Dive that is classically trained in the Boston area, a number of other performers classically trained in California. What is the relationship between the Music Center, because it's so important and so well known, with other schools, whether high school level, but really at the college level?
Thank you for that question. Our partnerships and relationships with institutions, both high school and college, are extremely important for us. We have a variety of kinds of relationships. Some of them, with some universities, we have had a relationship where they will choose a student, and if they get into the Music Center, they provide half a scholarship and we provide half a scholarship. So most of our relationships really revolve around opportunity and access to our campus. So whether it's a scholarship relationship like that, or many of our faculty members teach at schools, so we hope that they will, we expect them to recruit for us and bring their students. If they believe in the Brevard Music Center so much that they want to spend their summer here, we hope that they will also encourage their students to attend. At the high school level, we go out, high schools and youth orchestras, I would add as well. We present to them. We try to encourage their students to come. We also sometimes will have scholarship relationships with them, where we look to ease the burden of their students attending. So it's not possible for us to have too many relationships like that.
Jason, I recall last year having a conversation with you once about the difficulty you were having getting some students from overseas into the country. I'm wondering how that situation is shaping up for the coming year.
Yeah, that was a problem last year, especially right around this time of the year, actually. Students had, they were just not able to get visas. And I don't know that it's gotten very much easier. We do have international students coming. We have, last count, I think 10 countries represented. So I would imagine, and frankly, when I ran that department, I was a little more directly connected to what was going on. I would imagine that the students had to start earlier to get their visas to make sure that they had all of their papers in order. Many of our foreign students study in this country already, and then they just stay here for the summer. It means, of course, they don't get to go home and be with their families, but it's certainly a way for them to be able to stay, over the summer. But I'm not hearing reports from my team that it's the critical issue that it was last year.
Howard.
I was wondering how much success you've had in reaching, as in our community, is two populations, one highly cultured and the other much less affluent and less opportunities. I was wondering how much opportunity you've had to reach the second population, how much success you've had.
I think one of the things that I love most about Brevard Music Center is that we see ourselves as more than a music school, more than a concert series, more than any one thing. We really strive to be members of our community in every way that we can. So sometimes that is not even quite musically directed, making our campus available for community activities. Of course, during the pandemic, we were a place where people could get tested or vaccines. So people came on our campus at that time who had never been there before. And maybe haven't been there since, I'm not sure, but at least we were there for them when they needed us in that way. So we are always looking for ways to give people the opportunity to experience art at the Brevard Music Center. And whether that's Brahms or bluegrass, it's just a magical place to be. So any way we can do that, we strive to do that. So it's a constant effort on our part.
Jason, a couple of questions. Being a native of here, I've gone through the number 2 in that, but what efforts are you, and I don't know, do you have any students from a local high school here? Is there an audition process that they have to go through, and our students may not reach the level that you need there? And plus the other thing, most of our summer camps here, they will have special compensation or maybe reduced cost for local kids here. Do you see, and because we've already, as a community here, kind of viewed the music center as out there. You know, the locals, it's a lot better now because you're bringing bluegrass in, you're bringing those in. So there's a lot better image to the locals than it has been in the past. So I'd encourage you to focus on, what you can do. And you're doing a lot of that. Certainly in the past 5-7 years, it's been tremendous improvements from where it was. But work with our local kids, and they may start here, but anything that your staff can have a special day, and that would really help.
Well, thank you for that. And what I will say is those have been intentional efforts. We, as I said, we want everybody to feel welcome at the Music Center. And there are many ways that I think young people interact, whether it's working during the summer. So many people, high school students have either worked in the kitchen or parking or anything like that.
My wife worked here in school.
Exactly. I mean, every student who's graduated from Rosman or Brevard High has walked across the stage of Whittington Fall Auditorium over the past 2 or 3 decades. So we love having that connection. It is definitely one of my goals, and you were asking this question about the county schools. I definitely want to connect with our schools, with our high school, even all of the age groups, to figure out how we can engage with young people here. In the summer, it's tough because everybody disperses. It's hard to get everybody in one place. But I believe there are ways that we can get in front of our students, engage them, get them. I love it. There's nothing that makes us happier than when a Brevard student is taking part in one of our camps. So anything we can do to make that possible, we bend over backwards.
Jason, you really got my attention when you talked about the change in attention of students in terms of relating to lectures and things like that. I'm a career teacher. I worked with senior high school students and junior college students through my career. And I've been doing a lot of reading about how students are isolated now, unable to socialize or connect because they're so involved with screens. So what I'm asking, 2 things. Is it a particular age group that changed? And what do you think it was that created that change?
Well, I would say the biggest change was in our college. We have a high school division and a college division. So our high school kids, 14 to 18, have a certain experience, and our college division has a different kind of experience. I would say it's really those college kids that I saw that open-mindedness really be very obvious. And I think it was the fact that, I mean, they went through this period where the thing they were studying to do disappeared. And that's really scary. It was scary for professional musicians. It was scary for students. How can they justify going to college, and it's expensive to go be a music student, if your entire industry can just disappear like that? So I think that when it came back, and music has come back, I think they have left that, the scar that's been left is actually a good scar, because they are more open-minded and they realize we can't just be myopic about our studies. We really need to broaden things out. So,
Jason Posnock, thank you very much.
And I'll just say, please, if you don't have a performance calendar yet, please take one on your way out from the back table.
Our next panelist is David Watkins, the CEO of Cure Manufacturing. David founded Cure Manufacturing at age 26 after moving to, just 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Yeah. Founded at age 26 after moving to Brevard, North Carolina to purchase the assets of a technical ceramic manufacturer of textile thread guides. David's early career was with Boride Products Incorporated, which produced nuclear ceramics. Cure now has 21 patents, 3 divisions: technical ceramics, carbon composites, and abrasives. These divisions serve 12 distinct markets with distributors and customers in over 40 countries. David has a BS degree from the University of Michigan, Go IU, in general studies with an emphasis in business management. He has been very active in leadership positions throughout Transylvania County and regionally in North Carolina.
Thank you. I'm not used to giving speeches, so I've written mine out here. I'm going to have to read it. Also, I might say, when Tom approached me early in the year, we were talking about doing this. This has been in the planning stages for a long time. He gave me, I asked him what he wanted me to talk about. He said, what did you learn in 2025, and how are you going to apply that to 2026? So I thought, wow, I've got real license with this one. So I may surprise you what I talk about tonight. I'm certain if any of you in this room knows anything about my business, Cure Manufacturing, it's very little. Cure manufactures technical products to solve challenging industrial processing issues. We have one consumer product, and that is our Gulo bicycle wheel brand, based on a composite spoke technology that we developed and patented. Cure makes several thousand different products each year and sells to about 1,000 industrial customers in more than 40 countries. We are about to begin our 44th year in Brevard. It would take me longer than 15 minutes to explain what we do, so I'm going to instead talk more broadly about the context of American business and focus my remarks on two themes. The United States is an exceptional place to run a business, and the fact that businesses in the U.S. are remarkably resilient for good reason. 2025 was a time for me, and I would suggest for all of us, to start reflecting on the good that has come from the grand experiment called the United States of America. Beginning on a cool spring day in 1775, Americans started a revolution to claim their independence from Great Britain. Of course, that led to our formal Declaration of Independence this July 4th in 1776. So now we Americans are all certainly celebrating, or at least we should be. Last year, my wife Maureen and I traveled to Concord, Massachusetts to celebrate on April 19th the 250th anniversary of the shot heard round the world. There were about 100,000 people there enjoying the largest Revolutionary War reenactment to ever take place. It was spectacular. But it got me thinking, as it should, I think, all of us, about who we are and why our revolution took place. To provide some perspective, from the first surviving colonies in Jamestown, 1616, and Plymouth, 1620, to the time of our revolution, was 155 years or so. That's 6 generations. If the start of the revolution was placed in the center of a timeline of American life, beginning with the first settlements, 6 generations after the revolution, the U.S. was in the middle of the Great Depression. Camp Keystone in Brevard was starting its 15th year. It's only 6 years before Brevard Music Center started. That's how long the colonial period was, which developed a uniquely American character. Also, for perspective on the day in Concord, the first truly American philosopher, Ralph Waldo Emerson, lived with his grandparents right next to the Old North Bridge. He could see the bridge out of his bedroom window. This past April, there was a line of howitzers in that yard to fire volleys of salutes after the reenactment of the fight at the bridge was over and the fife and drum corps went quiet. Emerson wrote his famous essays, which for the first time distinctly characterized Americans some 60 years after our Declaration of Independence, from 1836 to 42. His most famous were Nature in 1836, The American Scholar in 1837, and Self-Reliance in 1841. What he wrote was a sensation at the time. Eminent writers and philosophers of Europe clamored to meet him. Coleridge, Wordsworth, Carlyle immediately seized on this unique American qualities that Emerson identified. He was celebrated and honored across Europe as someone who finally made it clear why the American colonials fought for their independence from what was at the time of our revolution the greatest country of all time, Great Britain. What we now call the American spirit, that can-do attitude reflected on this stage towards life in general, is still absent today in most of the world. 2025 reminded me in many ways how fortunate I am to be an American. I would not want to operate a business like mine anywhere else, nor would I like to be anything but an American. Excuse me. I'm lucky, and I would say we are all lucky. Think about the colonial experience. They landed in what they perceived to be a wilderness. The majority of the first arrivals in both Jamestown and Plymouth died in the first couple of years. But for 6 generations, as Englishmen, They tamed the wilds, built towns, cleared farms, fought first the Indians for survival, then as British citizens fought the 7-Year War. Our theater was called the French and Indian War of 1756 to 63, and won without any formal military training. The arms they were given for those wars and to defend their frontier towns against Indian raids were some of the very ones the British regulars wanted to take away in Concord in 1775. Prior to our Declaration of Independence, the colonies were very different from one another. Merchants in Charlestown, British aristocrats in Virginia, Quakers in Pennsylvania, Dutch reformers in New York, and Puritan Yankees in New England. As they met in successive Continental Congresses to work on plans to define their grievances with the Crown and debate a colonial society distinct from Great Britain, they focused on their commonalities to build a political system that reflected those unique American experiences. The events of 2025 reminded me of the importance of always seeking common ground. Just as members of the Continental Congress had to learn, listen, and practice how to respect each colony's different perspectives, we should practice the same in our daily lives in order to perpetuate this amazing country of ours. In 2026, we should acknowledge our differences, but focus on our commonalities as we celebrate America. Our founders intentionally built change into our political system. We are not a complacent society, willing to accept the status quo. We have regular election cycles, and with each, the level of uncertainty rises. New leaders always claim a mandate and then dramatically shift priorities towards their own. It has always been this way in the U.S. Yikes! How do we plan for the future when the ground we stand on is always shifting? How will the next election affect my business? How will long-term product development, expansion plans, and new product rollouts work out for us? What about recovering our capital from those investments? Do we stop and hunker down after every election? No. In the United States, we keep moving forward because we are conditioned to a dynamic environment and believe in a better future. That's important. A future we individually can influence. It is true, however, that when change comes unexpectedly or there are broad changes, we see disruption in businesses far more acutely than in our individual lives. Manufacturing, in particular, is impacted because of the longer horizon of product development and return on capital. Yet American businesses have easy access to capital, the protection of impartial courts, access to the largest markets of resources and materials, a pool of generally well-educated and skilled labor, and easier distribution of products and services than anywhere in the world, and perhaps at any time in human history. Americans believe in their institutions, but more importantly, we believe in ourselves and our own abilities. As Emerson first identified, we are free to act on our ideas, and we accept failure as part of the path towards success. The evolution of new ideas and products is fast-paced in the U.S. because of all of this. Emerson's self-reliance is at the core of our national character, a concept already lost on most of Europe before the Age of Enlightenment. In the United States, we are a stronger society because we're free to fail. The Great American Experiment, as it was once called, has proven over and over that businesses and investors who are free to make their own decisions, good or bad, will solve problems, serve the needs of people, and create wealth that improves lives worldwide. The U.S. does this better than any other economic and social system ever devised. The cycle of what we now call creative destruction just keeps moving markets away from uncompetitive ideas as better ones displace them. Yes, 2025 was a true test. The worst of it is that America feels divided. This is not good for our culture, and it's not likely to improve in 2026. The path towards a more unified society is not obvious. However, look back through our history and you will find America has always been divided. Every generation thinks it cannot get any worse. Jefferson and Adams, the Federalists versus Anti-Federalists, Lincoln versus Lee in the Civil War, industrialization versus popularism, the New Deal, world wars, civil rights, technology, gadgetry that we all have, pandemics, and immigration. Maybe we can develop a kindred spirit and pull together and celebrate our 250th this summer. Let's not forget that timing in business, as in life generally, is everything. Imagine if in 2025 you poured your energy into an imported product that you were going to market in the U.S. You spent all you had. You borrowed capital. You set up distribution, began an ad campaign, leased an office, placed orders for delivery, only to have arbitrary and exceptionally high tariffs placed on products you were buying. Many businesses suffered or failed from unforeseen change. Or at the same time, you could have created a business selling American products and done quite well, unaffected by tariffs. Business abhors uncertainty, and yet in reality, much of business success is just plain luck and hard work. In 2025, hiring for Kier became even more challenging, continuing a trend that began in COVID-19. One applicant for a factory position asked for the ability to work from home. Low commitment to work and career building prevails today. Then there are the THC gummy consumers who don't understand why we can't hire them to operate machinery when they can't pass a drug test. These changes in employment expectations were largely unforeseen, but are part of interviewing today. I'll admit that managing employees was one of the low points of 2025, and some of these challenges are continuing. Overall, the economy was pretty good and continues that way into 2026. Tariffs were hard on several of Kier's markets. Unexpected duties on copper rocked the wire and cable industry, our largest market. Likewise, tariffs on Canadian lumber drove up construction costs and harmed the housing industry even when mortgage rates were easing a bit. This, you wouldn't believe, but this change affected our brick extrusion tool products. One bright spot was our sandblast nozzle business, more than tripled as customers who had been importing from China came to us instead. For the most part, the U.S. economy and the institutions we have built can withstand enormous shocks, yet still rebound even stronger year by year. Businesses fail and new ones begin. Fortunes are lost and made, often within a single generation. But what may seem to be ruinous conditions often lead to new innovation and redirection that has a better chance of success. And then there is luck, something few people properly acknowledge. I am feeling pretty lucky in 2026. In summary, the United States is an unusual and truly remarkable country, and that became distinctive even before the first shot of the revolution was fired in 1775. There's good reasons that other countries have not been able to emulate our successes. They do not have our history. In 2026, as we look back on our 250th anniversary of independence, we all need to understand and celebrate and work to preserve what makes America exceptional. Thank you.
Thank you. David Watkins, any questions?
I did.
I always have questions.
Oh, good.
I've also learned as a teacher that the question that is not asked is in the minds of a whole lot of other people. So I usually will be the one who asks the question.
Great.
I really appreciate what you've written. I would like to get a copy of the written one sometime. Maybe it'll be published.
Okay.
You touched on at the last part about hiring. And I go down the streets here, and many of the businesses have signs hiring.
Yeah.
We see that for the fast foods, but I'm sure others find it, and you've mentioned it. We've touched on the education a little bit. In the last year or more, looking at some of the surveys, I see that our education standard has dropped dramatically. We're somewhere between the 40th country in the world or something like that in education. Have you found this a really big problem in yours in terms of manufacturing, not just the worker on the factory, but in design and other things like that, where are we going to get our engineers from?
Yeah. Well, what I found is there's plenty of smart people out there to hire. They may not be in Brevard. I think our Brevard school system could be a lot better. That's my sense. And a lot of it has to do with expectations. I think the fundamentals are all there, but we need to set higher standards. We rarely get people just coming in to apply for us, even though we've been here 44 years and pay well. I think it's a shame that schools don't teach people what they're capable of. It doesn't mean that everybody has to be academic, and some people learn the most valuable lessons on the ball field, and some people learn it in science, and some people it's something else. It may be singing in the choir, but everybody ought to graduate from high school with a pretty good sense of what they're capable of. And that's an expectation problem. We're not really trying to teach people that. We're not challenging them on all levels, I think, so that they come out prepared for whatever's thrown at them. And I hope I answered your question. I just always think we could do better. We ought to set our sights and say we ought to be in the top 10% of schools in North Carolina. Why not? We've got smart people in this community. And it's all a matter, it's not just dollars, it's a matter of expectations, I think.
Other questions? Thanks
Okay,
again, David.
thank you.
Thank you, very good.
Is there one more?
Oh, I'm sorry, we do have one. Yep. Rodney?
I want to ask my question now, because I may not be here because I'm not feeling well. But what I hear from all of you so far is that this may be your home base, but your products are worldwide. You're not really dependent on Brevard, for your product sales and where your customers are. And where recruitment is one of those things that happens no matter what business you're in and what you're trying to achieve. My question really is, how did you get from making this your home base to establishing your product worldwide?
Well, I don't want to speak for Tom or for the Music Center, but I think actually we're all very similar. We make excellent products. We make exceptionally good products. The Music Center is exceptional. Tom's products are exceptional. Our products truly are exceptional. We have no peer we serve 12 industries, 12 markets, and we're number 1 in 10 out of the 12. They're niche markets, but there's no one else doing as good a job as we are. And so the internet has opened it up, I must say. We used to advertise and we used to go around, knock on doors, and try and sell. But the internet, you can find anything now. If you're looking for a solution to a desire for a better camper or a solution to an industrial application where my products might help, or if you're looking for an experience in music at the highest level, you go to the internet, you can find it.
I got a little anecdote about the Music Center. That's good on the manufacturing side. I was in an airplane and struck up a conversation with a young lady sitting next to me who makes a living as a professional cellist. And that was news to me. I said, wow, that's new to me. So I said, how does that work? She's in 2 different orchestras in Florida. And she asked me where I was from, and I said I was from Brevard. And she said, the Brevard? So that really is, it's, in that realm, it is that famous and that important. And she knew about it and wanted to talk about it and talked about how lucky I was to live here and that sort of thing. So she was telling me about something that I hadn't fully grasped myself. So congratulations on that, Jason. Yes. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Last but certainly not least, Shelly Webb. Reverend Shelly Webb currently serves as the Executive Director of Sharing House, Transylvania County's faith collaborative ministry for crisis assistance with low-resource neighbors. Sharing House offers basic life necessities such as food, clothes, utility and rent assistance, empowerment programs, and advocacy. Previously, Shelly has served for 12 years in local church pastorates in Davidson, Brevard, and Asheville, and served in extension ministry as chaplain to Brevard College for 8 years. Shelly is a native of Hendersonville, North Carolina, and is a graduate of Wofford College and Duke Divinity School. She is an ordained elder in the WNC Conference of the United Methodist Church. Very grateful for you being here, Shelly.
Thank you. It is an honor to be among this panel, and thank you, Tom, for inviting me and for this elaborate group still willing to listen to the last speaker. So thank you for being here. It wasn't, and I wrote this back in March, so it's kind of a little dated, but it's a great experience to actually be invited to pause and to reflect. And I think we don't do enough of that I don't do enough of that in my daily life. I feel lately that my place in this world is to scurry around and put out human service crisis fires constantly. The pandemic, a hurricane, wildfires, and changing economic landscapes have kept me buzzing for the past 5 years. Our world, we've all mentioned it, you all know it, is changing fast. When I was a seminary student at Duke University, I had one of the most profound learning experiences when I had opportunity to visit a famed Baptist minister. He was living in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. His name is the Reverend Will Campbell, a practical theologian, a civil rights leader, a writer, famous for his autobiography and the book that piqued my interest, Brother to a Dragonfly. Many of you have probably read that book. He was one among others who walked alongside the 4 black students into the Arkansas school. He worked in nonviolent demonstrations at the direction of Martin Luther King Jr. He was a loyalist to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He spoke truth. I would say he was a gospel teller about love in human form. And he preached about a fully inclusive love that disrupted the status quo and demanded justice for the poor, the oppressed, the forgotten. I studied Will Campbell's writings that whole semester, and I couldn't believe the gift of the day I received when he invited me to come sit in his kitchen with his beloved wife, Brenda, and we shared an egg salad sandwich. We had that for lunch. We talked, we laughed. I was sitting at the feet of an amazing man. Will Campbell was also a farmer. I knew then that my life and ministry would be guided by this neo-orthodoxy movement, where faith instilled in me the conviction that our purpose on earth is to make love real, demonstrative love, and to point towards those instances when we see it expressed around us. Those of us in the faith community, are to bear witness to the love of God in this world, incarnational love. As a Christian, I'm an ordained Christian, it's hard to say that sometimes, the kind of love that is expansive and not exclusive, the kind of love that is sacrificial, it's not hoarded, it's the kind of love that meets people where they are and takes one by surprise. The kind of love that does not forget. The kind of love that has no end. You just need to know that about me, and I don't really get to say that in public places often. My motivation for being in ministry is simply for love of God and for the love of neighbor so that no one is left out, no one is cast aside, no one is harmed, no one is forgotten or in need of basic life necessities. Will Campbell that day made a reference to an old banjo tune. Another thing you might not know about me, I love to play banjo, old-time banjo. And the song is called Hold On. It uses the farmer's wisdom. It's a nod to scripture about keeping one's hand to the plow and not looking back. It's right now it's time. They're planting. It's time for spring planting. It's near Mother's Day, the Old Farmer's Almanac. But Will Campbell, the theologian and farmer, said to me, you know, Shelly, it was around the egg salad sandwich, when you're plowing a field, Shelly, the most important moment happens before you even start. You stand at the edge of the field with your hands on the plow and you pick something in the distance to focus on. Maybe it's a fence post, maybe it's a tree on the horizon, because if you look down on the dirt, or if you keep turning around to see how you're doing, your rows are going to wander all over the field. But if you keep your eyes fixed on the point ahead, something amazing happens. Your rows will come out straight. And he said something else that stuck with me that day. He said the hardest fields to plow are the ones right after a storm. The soil is heavy, the ground is uneven, and sometimes there's debris in the field that wasn't there before, so you have to watch out. But that's also when the work matters most, because if the field is not plowed, nothing new will grow. So this year, as I thought about everything that Sharing House has walked through in 2025, and just for me personally, everything that I walked through, I kept coming back to that image. Hands on the plow, eyes forward, and the determination not to look back in fear. I think of 2025 as the year to remember the lessons we learned in 2020. When the world seems to be falling apart, the pandemic, or the aftermath of a hurricane, our collective ministry, our community nonprofit, your nonprofit, Sharing House, is standing in the gap of hardship for so many people. And we don't do it alone. There's so many other just amazing nonprofits, community groups, government agencies that work to keep people supported in life when it's a struggle. But Sharing House was one, standing in the gap of hardship. People who depend on a safety net. It would have been so easy to cave to fear. But what I know is that this county, this community is generous. It was like a refresher course for me again in 2025 to remember the lessons of 2020. When the pandemic emerged, I'll go all the way back to 2020, our grocery stores were empty. You might remember that. We were all hoarding our toilet paper. The fresh vegetables, all kinds of supplies were gone. I have to admit that I was full of fear because I'd never encountered this before. I even got to the place, and I don't think I ever said it out loud, but I thought, what if I have to call the National Guard Armory? What if we are sitting on a stockpile of food at Sharing House when our grocery stores are empty? They were empty. Shelves were empty. How will we feed all of those who are suddenly out of work? People were losing their work during the pandemic. What if our regular donors stop giving because the world seems to be shutting down? I mean, who would blame them for keeping their cans of food and their money for themselves in case this doesn't stop? I was understandably fearful, full of fear, facing something we had never in our lifetime faced, a pandemic. For how long? The lesson I learned was that I was operating with a sense of scarcity. You, the people of Transylvania County, businesses, I remember Tom Dempsey came to, neighbors, you were willing to help out, people of faith, you were operating with a sense of an abundance. You gave. It blew my mind. Donations came through our protective doors. You gave money, you gave prayers, while all of our volunteers were safely staying home. We have 270 volunteers. Just a handful of us were holding down Sharing House. There were 3 staff members and maybe 3 volunteers working from home. People were having overdue bills. We were having to pay things by online, pledges. Money you gave generously. We made it through the pandemic. And then in 2025, here we go again. Another natural disaster that required our crisis assistance ministry to roll up our sleeves and stand by our neighbors who are quietly putting their lives back together again. And this time, the people we helped included some of our own volunteers. 2025 was the year of expense after expense after expense. Sharing House distributed more acts of service than any other time in our 45-year history. We knew that you had entrusted us with donations, and it was our responsibility to fairly and effectively distribute the incredible collection of money to mitigate the disaster, the damage, the scars. For the survivors of the storm, we paid mortgages when suddenly they had mortgage and a new rent due. We paid for appliances that were destroyed, water heaters, sump pumps. We mitigated mold. In times of disaster, there is this time gap, a critical time when insurance has not yet paid out and FEMA hasn't come through when the bills are piling up. Sharing House had our own crisis too. Our main food source, Manna Food Bank, was washed down the Swananoa River. We had to purchase in the first 2 months food at cost to replace what Manna could not truck our way for a couple of months until they could get their operations back online. We also purchased 9 vehicles to replace those that were flooded or damaged by falling trees to those who were victims, just to get people back on their feet and back to work. That's really critical. We paid for overdue utility bills for houses that were not livable, but still needed water and electricity to repair them. So many people lost work during the aftermath of the storm. When tourism slowed to a crawl, those are the people we serve. Those are the service industry, people on the front lines. Many people were cut back their hourly wages, but altogether, we're not quite done with our hurricane relief funds. We're still paying out money that people are still struggling. Sharing House has given out over $680,000 in hurricane relief to tell our neighbors that you are not alone in this. In the spirit of that metaphor, we have kept our hand on the plow. We did not look backwards with fear, but we kept our focus ahead, plowing straight rows with great hope, seeds planted that will sprout into hopefully a better, fruitful day. I have stopped asking the proverbial question, well, have we seen it all yet? I mean, a pandemic, a hurricane, wildfires. And by November of 2025, the answer was nope, not yet. Let's add a national crisis of frozen SNAP benefits. And these are the government subsidies that truly are life-giving to so many people. When suddenly SNAP benefits were threatened, we experienced the dire need for food. All of our food pantries, we have maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 food pantries now, beyond just the Sharing House. We all quickly had to make plans. Manna Food Bank, I loved what they published. They had a need, like for every provided subsidized food meal, out of 10 of those meals, when people need help with meals, out of 10 of those kinds of need, 9 of those meals are paid through SNAP benefits. There was no way that we could ever come up with the difference if they had remained frozen. In this county, SNAP benefits collectively, it amounts to about $500,000 a month to provide SNAP benefits to those who desperately need it. There's no way that all of us together could come up with $500,000 a month to replace that benefit to those people or to that need. In that 1 month time, Sharing House saw 340 new households, 700 new people who have never received assistance before came looking for food. and for other necessities. We had already cast our budget for 2026 by November, and I can tell you that we did not build into that budget any amount that could cover that need. So to sum up the lessons I learned in 2025, one, we live among generous people, big hearts, all of you. People, organizations, businesses, churches, other nonprofits, foundations who donate needs, their time, wisdom to make life better for everyone. Two, being transparent about the needs of people, amplifying their voices of those who struggle to pay the bills is a voice that cannot be lost in the cacophony of sounds. We need to believe their story. Making a living in Transylvania County is hard. Three, love is greater than fear, hands down. And four, we need one another to live our best lives. We are interdependent. And five, and we really live this out in the culture of Sharing House, everyone has gifts to share and needs that need to be met. Everyone. Every one of us have those gifts. Our overall 2026 budget, looking into 2026, it's $2.8 million for Sharing House, and we're just one nonprofit. One thing I worry about is donor fatigue. After all these crises we've had, I worry about donor fatigue. We project that 92 cents of every dollar will go to direct neighbor services. What we did not budget for are the increased numbers of services we've already seen. We're experiencing this right now. Comparing data from March 2025 to March 2026, we are experiencing a 10% increase for food, 51% increase for heating assistance, 76% increase for rental assistance, and that follows a prior year of 104% increase for rental assistance. We're seeing a 48% increase in medication assistance, 25% for water bills, 27% for showers. Sharing House is really the only place you can regularly go to get a hot shower, and some of you experienced it when the hurricane hit. We had volunteers taking showers at Sharing House. Our building space is cramped. If you haven't been, come visit. We open invitation every Thursday from 2 to 4. Come see us. It's been cramped for the past 5 years. Our current building was built in 1984. So much of our operations have changed as we've moved to a neighbor choice model of resource distribution. We are anticipating groundbreaking for a new Sharing House building expansion by 2027. We have got to. We don't have much choice. And believe me, we really don't want to spend money on a building. We'd rather be spending that on care to our neighbors or creating a program of empowerment. But we simply cannot keep squeezing people and resources into the limited space. We need more showers. The line, people are sitting every day now waiting for hot showers, more empowerment programming space. We don't always want to be the ones putting Band-Aids on problems. We really do want to help people find a life that they want. We do believe in self-determination, but sometimes we've got to be creative. And I think having a group of mentorships and empowerment centered just to lift the veil of what else is possible for me and my family. Just to dispel one myth that people hear. In generational poverty, even for those who try, and let me tell you, people are trying to not live in poverty. They don't want to come asking for food. 25% will get out of poverty. Pulling yourself by your bootstraps does not work in this society anymore. It's hard. It is really, really hard. And for those who try, only 25% will escape the poverty line. I do want to go through this because I've heard people have heard little bits and pieces of the Sharing House journey through 2024, 2025 of our need for space. Our hope is to have this conceptual design by the summer. We're hopeful. Everybody cross your fingers. A soft appeal for a capital campaign will go out in August of 2026. This has been a complicated process that Sharing House has been engaged in for over 2 years. And I say that with pride We have not jumped into this. We did have a conceptual design. We bought property. It came in at $11 million. And we decided that that was way too much. That is not a good stewardship of anyone's dollars. So we went back to the drawing board this past year. We've come up with 4 options, and we're drilling down to 2 choices, and hopefully by the summer we will have chosen one. And we think that we can build the adequate space for like $5.5 million is what we're aiming for. So if you have $1 million and you want to share it, I'll be at the back of the house. But seriously, we would rather just live in the space we have and give the resources to families, but we know that we have to do this. We are focused on the fence post at the end of the field. Our hands are on the plow, and the fence post is our mission, the Sharing House mission statement, and I'm going to read it for you. Together, we work to meet our neighbors' urgent needs, build lasting stability, which is what we all want, help create pathways out of poverty, and cultivate hope. So we're turning up the soil. It's spring, it's time. We're plowing our way to a loving community where every person can thrive. May it be so. Thank you.
Any questions for Shelly?
Shelly, mine is a request for you to share a bit of information. What percentage, 2 things, what percentage of the population in Transylvania County do you serve? And
14%.
14, which is a significant number. And how much food do you go through in either a week or a monthly period, and to stress the importance of things like Pack the Pantry?
So in 1 year, we'll give out 361,000 pounds of food. Every month, we probably distribute 33,000 pounds of food. And just to put it in relative terms, a Pack the Pantry event, which happens twice a year, our goal is to raise 7,000 pounds. And if you've ever lifted all those pounds, it's a lot of food. And that would cover maybe 1 week supply.
Peter.
You're all obviously very enthusiastic about our community, and that's greatly appreciated. And I'm asking this question not because I'm seeking negatives, but I think your answers might tell us something about what we may need more effort on. And so my question is, putting aside national issues, putting aside international issues, what most concerns you or worries you about our community in Transylvania County and Brevard?
As the leader of Sharing House, of this collective, compassionate ministry, I would say one of the biggest needs is to understand what it's truly like to live in someone else's shoes. And I think that's true for those who, like, I was a sociology major at Wofford College, not a religion major. Somebody had to talk me into doing that. But I've always been fascinated by what we can learn from each other's cultures. And I think there is truly a middle-class culture, there's a true culture of poverty, and there's beautiful lessons to share with each other. Like, we have a lot to learn from people who struggle every day to make ends meet, who may not have had the benefits of having a parent in the home who expected something more from them. Not everybody has that experience growing up. Not everybody has the experience, like, truly, I think it's a sense of belonging. When we interviewed our neighbors, we call people neighbors, not clients, because they are our neighbors. When we interviewed a lot, I thought, and asked them, what are your biggest needs? It wasn't housing, like that's what I thought, or it was belonging. That was the number one thing. They wanted to feel like they have a purpose in this community and not just to, slop out the, the fast food at the drive-thru. You'll see a lot of our folks there. They want to know that their life has more purpose and that it's valued more than just, care. I like the simulations, like poverty simulations, or we just had let's see, I forgot what it was called, but yes. and you really get to experience kind of the day-to-day crisis. Like, I will hear people say, why do people smoke? I mean, don't they know how expensive that is? Yeah, they know how expensive it is. But also, how do you ever get a break from work unless you're smoking? They have to, by law, let you go out and smoke. But, why do people quit good jobs when they quit because they don't ever get, an hourly paid job does not get paid vacation or sick days, things like that. Like the benefits that sometimes I might be used to, and I grew up in a family with a dad who had vacation time. So I think sometimes just to understand somebody else's life, and we teach classes, it's called Building Bridges Out of Poverty, to try to understand the culture of poverty. If you want to learn how to live in the now, like I think what middle class people forget sometimes is we forget to live in the now because we're so future oriented. That's part of our culture. Everything's about future. I'm thinking about retirement. Yeah. Or, like, how's my retirement account doing? So I'm always thinking about, the future. What do you want to do when you grow up? That's a future question. That's a middle class question. Sometimes in poverty, they don't have anybody asking them, what do you want to do when you grow up? There's no one in their life asking that question. But also, I think sometimes we can miss out on the now. Also humor, etc.
Can I add on to what you're saying?
Please.
So I'm physically at the other end of the seats here, but I'm actually not at all. And it's a bit of a metaphor for, Sylvan Sport. People think, oh, you're the head of Sylvan Sport and you founded it. I founded it out of a desperate need to find a way to make a living to keep my family in this county. I just had to be resourceful, and it's grown through determination. But truthfully, it's the hardest thing by far I ever imagined doing. And some days I feel exactly the way you just described people feeling. Like, I live in the now out of necessity because the future is too overwhelming and too impossible to figure out and too daunting to even face. So it's interesting, and where we're located across the street from the trail into town, we have a lot of folks that are our neighbors that stop and spend time on our porch and charge their phones and hang out, and we give them gear if they need it and stuff like that. So it's really, I think it's a good point that our separation, is not what people might think it is. It's really, we're a much closer community than I think some folks realize. I will say one other thing to answer your specific question, stealing from David. We need to extend expectations. What you said about expectations needing to be higher in education is absolutely true, and we need to extend that to all aspects of our community leadership. I've often thought that to be an elected leader in this community, you need to believe this is an exceptional community. Like, if you don't believe that, you shouldn't be a leader, because this is an exceptional place. This is not any town USA.
To answer your question also, I'd like to say I think that I don't want to lose the values of Transylvania County. We've got an influx of people. I mean, you just look at the streets are clogged with cars in the off-season. It's wonderful in some aspects that we've been discovered, and it's not so wonderful in others. And as people move here, often what I hear is they want to, why don't you have this? Why don't you do that? And I think it's important for us to have ongoing conversations about what we value in this community, what have we valued for decades in this community, and see if we can kind of help define the values of Transylvania so that they're perpetuated. I think that's important, and that could happen through the schools. It can happen in a number of different ways. One value is music. The music center, the music summer camp is a wonderful aspect of living in Transylvania County. But I think we got to find a way to perpetuate our values.
Hi, I don't have a question. I just want to thank you and the Sharing House from my position at the police department. And often we encounter people at their worst times. And as a government agency, as a law enforcement agency, our hands are tied. There's so many times where we want to be able to offer so much assistance, help, but we don't have it. So having the Sharing House, you are just an invaluable resource, not only for this community, but somebody that we use continually. You know, on a day-to-day basis, we refer people to the Sharing House for the programs which you guys offer. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Barbara?
One thing that I always say with that is that everything any nonprofit does for community, it's community owned, first of all, but you know, we don't make a profit. There's nothing that we're selling. But everything at Sharing House that is given through those doors is because somebody chose to give it first to us to be good stewards of. So it's really a community effort, and we're just the stewards of it. So thanks. And we appreciate you. We've called you many times.
So my question is sort of for all of you, but I've heard woven through everything, these high expectations, an abundant mentality of a beautiful place. Too often in our school system, what we see is a scarcity mentality. And we don't have, we can't do, we can't go, we can't be. And it's crippling our kids. They're not able to walk out and have the skills to walk into your building and say, I can do that, even though I'm not actually had that training, but I know I can do that, right? So how do we get there? How do we morph from this idea to become the musicians that can go into the music center? Just all of it, but having a general, what? Yeah.
I'm going to speak from my own experience. I sang in a boys' choir when I was young, and I was pretty good at it. And that taught me a lot. It's those non-academic. It can happen in school and academics. But those things where it just reinforces, like, hey, there's something I can do that I've never done before, and I can do it well. And it starts, parents, of course, but schools need to incorporate that kind of thinking into everything they do. There is real value in everybody, and you need to find it. And you need to, when they graduate from high school, they need to know, hey, there are a lot of things I can do, and I can meet any challenge that I'm given, as long as it's not something you're capable of,
Well, I was going to say that's a topic that excites me a lot, because as an entrepreneur, we have times when we whipsaw in a week's time from this is disastrous, we're going to be out of business, to oh my gosh, we're going to kill it and all be rich. And so when we go through these phases of incredible scarcity and tough times, during Helene we were shut down for almost 2 months, and not only did we not have any revenue, but we paid our folks continually through the entire shutdown. So and I have to tell the team, it's a conscious decision to choose an abundant mentality, even when it doesn't feel like we've got it. We've got super scarce times where we can make a choice, okay, we're gonna cut back. Well, how much do you cut back before it starts killing, your ability to function? And so you have to believe that the future is going to materialize in front of you. You have to believe that beyond your headlights, there's a roadway. And you got, and I think that's you got to believe that the abundance is there and it's going to work. And I feel like you're absolutely right. Too often we operate out of this position of scarcity and fear, and it's a choice we need to collectively find in our leadership to say we're gonna find a way and do it. And we witness other communities that do that. They make it happen. So it is possible.
I would just add, as a teacher, that I couldn't agree more. The higher we set the bar for students, the closer they're going to get to it. And whether we set the bar here or here, they're going to get to right about where that bar is. So the more we can empower our teachers and our wonderful teachers in this community to really challenge our students to have that optimistic goal, and whether that's academically, whether that's giving them opportunities to, to sing or to play sports, that's how we're going to give our kids that confidence that you were talking about.
I'd like to just add one thing. I started my teaching career in 1964. That was my first class. And I've spent my whole life listening to teachers being degraded and the school system being held to account for any shortcoming in our society. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, but as a teacher, I did some math, and I'm going to invite all of you to do this. Figure out 7 hours a day in school, in the building. It could be lunchtime, it could be study hall, but 7 hours a day in the building from the time of kindergarten through the end of high school. It's 18% of a person's life. 18%. The rest of that time is outside the school building, in the family, in the community, in the culture, however you want to say it. And I will say that what happens in school is a reflection of what's going on at home.
Tom. You're welcome. Thank you. This is easy. Larry, you want to say a couple words?
Thank you for what you do to this community, your contributions. David, a great segue into 25, we all remember property taxes, valuations. We're right into the budget right now. And the thing that's frustrating to any elected official, whether it be local, state, or whatever, is trying to determine what's the priority of your citizens. What do you want your money spent on? Well, we in the next few weeks or a few days, you're going to see a Survey Monkey come out, and we're going to put it on the website, force it out there as best we can, with about 5 questions. And there's questions that pertain to what are your priorities for your tax dollars to be spent on. And one of the questions, I'm not going to go through all of them, but one of them is about 92% of the county's annual budget is made up of mandated services. Services the state requires the county to fund primarily through property taxes. Some funding, like school personnel and social services, are decided at the state level before it ever gets down to us. So you're going to be, in this particular one, there's about 8 or 9 questions. What are your priorities? And we want to hear from you what the priorities are. General government, land management, development, building inspection, public health, public safety, sheriff's office, jails, courthouses, schools, K through 12. We as a county have very little input on schools. We fund the capital for the buildings, and we provide teacher supplements, and I'm proud to say we're one of the highest counties in the state in the amount of teacher supplement that's paid. Social services, as Shelly talked about, key. And last but not least, solid waste. So be on the lookout for this. We need to hear what is your priority. And, if we're going to raise your taxes, we need to know where you want it spent. My famous saying, I can give you everything you want, but I got to take it from you first. I can't print money. So thank you, Tom. Thank you for what you've done, your staff here, and appreciate it.
That was a very dramatic moment, Larry. Thank you very much. All right. That concludes the formal presentation part. It's mingle time. Thank you all for coming. And another round, please, for these great panels. Really appreciate you all.